Okay, so let's take a look at what we got and final little build notes. I never showed putting the paddles on. No big deal. Put them on. I wound up with 153 millimeters from the fly bar cage here to the end of the paddle. Put them on just till they snugged up, and then put the set screw. Now be careful with the set screw. It's very easily stripped in the plastic. As a matter of fact, I over tightened and stripped it. So I did is pulled it out, put a little CA on the set screw, put it in, and then it tightened up just fine on both of them. Alright, so plumbing. Let's take a look here. I'm going to have to spin this around. I understand why someone wanted to see the plumbing, and it wasn't so much that it's hard to route, but getting the supplied fuel line onto the nipples in these little small holes was a challenge. Kind of like trying to push a wet noodle uphill. You kept trying to put it on there, and you got to be very careful too. You don't want to be grabbing it right where it goes on the nipple, because if you split or put a cut in the hose, you might get an air leak. Not good. But I was able to finally get it on. I lubed the fuel tube a little bit with some silicone oil, and that helped it slip on. But there's my basic plumbing with a fuel clamp, and not that big a deal on this. Same thing on the other side. Was not quite as hard to get the nipple on there because there was a little bit more room, but I ultimately had to use a pair of angled pliers to allow me enough reach to get in there and push that down in. Again, be careful not to split your tubing. Also, make sure you get a service loop up in here around the frame, and try to get it over to one side so it doesn't ride on the bottom of the main shaft in there and cut a hole in it. I kind of twisted it. That made the loop come up, lay against this side of the heli, and then I came out here to my vent. I was going to come out this side, but it was kind of funky in the way coming out the front here, so I just came out this hole. I'm a little concerned over time that this might chafe and cut a hole, so I'll keep an eye on it. If not, take a piece of fuel tubing, split the tubing lengthways, and CA it or shoe goop it to the frame, and that'll cause a little chafe relief there. Alright, so be careful with that. No big deal, but that's my plumbing. Alright, other than that, I pretty much am done. I've got everything in. There's not really too much more to talk about. Let's take a look at something. So this is what I wound up left with in my kit. And, you know, I started this build quite a while ago. So here's what we got. Got the canopy thumb screws. Alright, I managed to seem to only get 2 rubber grommets. So I don't know if they... also, the picture only shows using 2 thumb screws, not 4, in the back of the manual. So, no big deal. I'll dig up my own grommets. Head button looks pretty and everything, but I'm not going to put it on, especially with this type of setup. If you crash, you could bend your grip arms when it strikes the head button, so I'm not putting mine on. There's the screw for the head button. Obviously, nothing left there. Now, you'll have another bag with some tie wraps, and these are kind of like your extra parts. Extra balls, some screws, stuff like that, so that's extra parts. Now, I did wind up with some balls and screws left over from my kit, and it's possible that what happened was, if you remember, I sized my links, and so I had to call Heli Direct back up and have them send me some links, and they sent me some links and some other stuff. So. And some other things. So it may be that I used the balls from there, and that's why I have these left over. No big deal if they're left over. They're extra, and maybe I didn't, and you get some extras. So ultimately, that's what you should have left in your kit, okay? And basically that finishes it up, and we'll go do the maiden. Anything I find out while doing the maiden or tuning or otherwise, I will certainly let you know. But maiden flight is next. Anyway, I hope this build series was helpful to you on building the Outrage Velocity 50. Enjoy.